Hey, everybody. Thank you and welcome to another show of Think, Engage, Thrive, where we bring you interesting entrepreneurs to talk about how they got there and their entrepreneurial journey, the good, the bad, and some funny stories. And we like to hear all kinds from folks. And tonight, we've got a very interesting woman. Her name is Traci Bermingham, and she she has a concept called the business alignment method. And really, what it is she helps business owners reclaim about 20 hours a week of their time so they can really focus on their business and turn it from, as she puts it, turn it from a hot mess to a hell yes. So it should be an interesting discussion. She really focuses on, she has an interesting background which we're going to hear about, because she came from corporate America, some big companies where she was doing operational work, and I think Del Monte was one, if I remember correctly. And so she really understands how that uh, business of sort of planning and organization really affects companies. And she took that and she turned it into a business where she helps smaller business owners, virtual owners, whatever, and she helps out a lot of people. But I think she's worked with Visa and Charles Schwab and Gap, Banana Republic. So she's worked for some very big companies, Williams Sonoma. Del Monte, is that what I said, or did I say something else? I might have said something else. But she basically implemented operation systems, project management systems. So that type of methodology, that type of mentality really can help companies or startups or virtual companies or whoever to really organize themselves, I think, a little bit better. So I may have said some things wrong, but we'll hear from Traci. We're going to bring her in now, and we'll talk to her about how she got started, what she did, and the whys. So, welcome, Traci.
Thank you so much for having me, Phil. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know how badly I butchered that, but
You were
um,
right on. You were right on.
so take us through that whole path of, okay, you worked for these great big companies, and a lot of people, and we actually had a guest on last week talking about this very thing where she said she felt she did all the right things. She went to college, she started working for these big companies, and on a path to for a career, but then she just decided it wasn't for her, and she wanted more freedom, and so why don't you take us through your path and how you got to where you are?
Sure. So mine was a little different in that I was, I think, forced sometimes into this path versus choosing the path. Um, but I have been a ease of terminology, I guess, is just a project manager for the last 25 plus years. And all that means to me is that I just get stuff done. And right, like just in a nutshell, right? Like that's literally what I do is I
you're
help
a,
people get stuff done
you're
all day,
100%
every
right.
day,
You're
right?
100% right.
And so when I worked with the big corporate clients, I was living in San Francisco. And
Yeah.
so all of their corporate headquarters were in there. So uh, I was managing projects of, teams of 50 plus team members, multi-million dollar projects. The launches were, planned out 3 years in advance. And we used to get it to where we would launch exactly when we said we were going to launch every single time, right? Like
Which never happens.
it never happens. And yet we did it, right? And we did it over and over and over again. But it was building really systems and structures that worked and helped to, for me, it was really about aligning things, right? It was about making sure that, sometimes everybody always complains to me that like their teams, it's like herding cats, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the that's their team management method,
Yeah.
right? Is just the chaos of teams, and people don't, they feel like they're constantly nagging people and
Yeah.
pulling stuff from them and trying to get them to meet their due dates because they never hit their due dates. I never have that problem, right? Like we just flow. So I was working kind of at the end of my San Francisco time. I was there for about a decade. Towards the end, started working with Del Monte Foods. I loved, some of my products are still on the shelves. And
Yeah.
I think it is just the coolest to be able to walk in and like, I did that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just, there's a satisfaction there of being able to hold it in your hands.
Oh, sure.
Um, and so I got married, I have four little boys.
Oh,
So we
beautiful.
started having children. And San Francisco, I think my first son's, he was born in San Francisco and his changing tip was in the kitchen because we were in such a small little space. So we had family in North Carolina decided to come out here. We're in Jacksonville, as you know, and it's small town USA. And so there are no corporate clients here. Like they don't need project managers here. We've got really small businesses. And so I switched to the virtual space probably about 15 years ago now. And so and I laugh because we used to have 3 years to launch a product. And now I'm lucky if I've got 2 weeks
Oh,
to
yeah.
launch anything, right? Like the timelines, everything is just so much faster. Um, but in bringing that skill set to the virtual space, a lot of times what I find is that business owners are following the gurus and they're building these businesses, and we've got all of this information on how to 10x your business in the next 30 days and how
Yeah.
to, right, like all of these things. They don't tell you how to organize the back end or how to get your team to do anything. And it's like they almost build a business where they backed themselves into a corner,
Yeah.
and it's a hot mess, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
that closet that's just packed with stuff and you're shoving more in there and just trying to shut the door and hoping you don't open it again because you don't want anything to fall on you. And so it's me just coming in and kind of helping to streamline everything, to smooth everything out, to actually build the systems and the processes and the structures and that's where the time comes from, right? Is like you can breathe again because it's all flowing and moving like it should be versus the chaos of managing it all like from your head.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you that there are times, well, there's probably a time once a year when we go through a little bit of a growth spurt in our business, which is an agency, and we get that way where it
Yeah.
gets a little frazzled, and we try and be organized, but it happens to everybody.
Sure it does. And it sounds like you, for the most part, have it all worked out, right? In the flow. And when new
Sometimes.
business, it's all sometimes, right? This is like, I hate to break it to you, but you're never going to put a system in place and say, okay, done, right? Like it just doesn't work that
You're right.
way.
No,
It's
you're
so
100% right.
as the market changes, as you get new clients, as you have team members leave, all of those things you need to adjust and kind of recalculate and
As you
smooth
get
it
new
out.
team members, because they have to
Exactly.
get caught up speed, and everybody else has to sort of
Yep.
pick up the slack, and it sends a little bump through the streamlined process. But
Yes.
I wouldn't
Yes.
exactly call our process streamlined, but I would say it works.
Yeah, it works. There you go. A lot of people, it's not working, right? And a lot of people, like, I talk to business owners, and they're worried that what if they got in a car accident and they
Yeah,
couldn't work for 6 months? Like they don't have anything. It's all up here, so there's no way for anybody to do anything for them, and
yeah,
there's a stress that comes with that, right? Like I can't get sick. I can't take a vacation. I can't, a
yeah,
lot of people I talk to have not taken a vacation in 10 years or more
yeah,
because they're working nights and weekends all the time.
yeah, yeah. That's a different paradigm. We definitely take the time off,
Good.
um, because when we do have backups and backups to backups that everybody has. But I will tell you that we're working with one client, and we have been for 7 years. Okay,
Yep.
to launch a product, and the product continues to change,
It
and
hasn't gone
so
out yet.
hasn't gone out yet. We just did a
Wow.
Kickstarter for the project about 6 months ago, and so they're in the process of delivering it. But it started out when they brought us on in the first year. Again, it was 7 years ago. they brought us on and they were like, we're ready to launch. And when they went out and did a little bit of a consumer test, they got some pushback on some things. So they were like, okay, we have to refine this. So that took, then everything changed, right? The flow charts changed, everything changed.
Yeah.
And then it went into the next year, then the next year, then the next year. And it's constant. And I sit there going, guys, you have to get this product to market. You have
Yes.
to get this product to market. So we did a Kickstarter to get the product to market, at least to figure out if the messaging worked, the price point worked, and all those pieces. So now we can make a plan. So hopefully now in the next year they're gonna launch. But believe me, they could have used someone like you to say, this is
Right?
we're gonna hit this deadline in 3 years.
Yeah, I'm totally right. My clients call me the Velvet Hammer, right? Like I'm nice as pie, but like we're also going to do it at this time,
Yeah.
right? Like this is our deadline. That's where we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I hate missed deadlines.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy because I have a problem with time. Like I'm the person who gets there everywhere early. I get on phone calls early. I
Me
get
too.
everywhere early, and so it's really difficult for me when we miss deadlines. But
Yeah.
it's people like you who
Right.
get it, keep things going on track.
Yeah.
So now you're. So did you grow up on the West Coast? Is that did you?
Yeah. I grew up in San Diego. Went to San Diego State for my bachelor's, and then I went to National University for my MBA. So I got those both in San Diego, and then as soon as I finished school, I moved to San Francisco. So I was California girl until about 15 years ago, when we moved over here, and just went like it's literally like the exact opposite side of exact opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now
So
we're coastal over here.
yeah, that's great. So I actually like that part of the country. I mean,
Hmm.
I think it's very pretty and it's good. It's a good place to grow to raise kids and grow up because
Yeah.
I grew up in New York in the Bronx, and so I think that was a tough place because everything is it's a hassle to get somewhere. You can't
Yeah.
just go outside and ride your bikes. You can't just go to your little league game. Everything is a you're driving.
Yep.
You got to take the bus. You got to take the subway. You got to do this. So I think it's much more difficult place to. I always said I would never raise kids in New York City.
Yeah, well, I laugh because my brother is still in San Diego, and so his family and I have cousins and aunts, and um, we go to visit a bit, and the traffic,
Yeah,
like we literally need to leave either an hour and a half early to go 10 miles, or we need to, it's like and I laugh because I grew up there, right? And the Bay Area traffic is just a
oh,
mess
terrible. Yeah,
also. And then I came here and it's like I will literally drive 5 miles like out of my way so that I don't have to hit that one traffic light that takes forever, right? And I just laugh at myself. I think it's fantastic because I like my tolerance level has gone to nothing.
yeah,
So, and they seem fine with it, and I don't know that I could do it.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm terrible with traffic. I'll do the
Hmm.
same thing. As long as I continue to move. I just don't
Right.
like standing still.
Yeah.
So, who is your target customer? Who's your ideal client? Let's say.
Yeah. My ideal client is the overwhelmed, overworked virtual business owner. So it's in the virtual space for the most part. I do have some brick and mortar clients that come in, but it's real, they're trying to make an impact on the world, and they have the biggest hearts and they want to make a difference in people's lives. And they're just stuck with where they are. They want to scale, but there
Right.
aren't enough hours in the day because for the way that they're currently running their business, there is literally, they would have to double themselves in order to double what they're doing. And so it's really coming in. And, I say that I help people scale naturally because
Yeah.
what happens is, a lot of times it's all in their head. And so they're managing their business, they're managing their teams, they're managing their clients, everything from their headspace. And they're just stressed and overwhelmed. And they're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they can't sleep because of all the things that they need to get done today. And their brain starts and that checklist starts, right? And the worry starts and the all of the things start. And so it's really about getting it out of their heads and getting it into like a work management tool for them and actually setting that up so that their teams can actually work kind of on their behalf or without them being the bottleneck
Yeah,
or
yeah,
right like that they can actually work with each other. And what happens is because everything is out of their head and because all of the processes, all of the systems, everything, the team can actually, you can delegate effectively and efficiently. I teach them a lot of how to delegate, right? Because a lot of times they don't know how to do that efficiently, right? And so, working on, team delegation and getting all of that sorted out. And then what happens is they all of a sudden have free time. And with the free time, what they can do is they can either up level, right? So they can start working on the tasks that actually need them, not the tasks that need to get done, but the tasks that actually need strategy or sales or, right? Like the
right.
big items.
Working
Or
on
they
the
can,
business, not in the business.
correct, right? Or they can go on that vacation. And what happens is when you just like let yourself breathe for a minute, ideas start to pop up about, what, I've been wanting to do this program for the last 5 years. I think I now have time to do it. And
Yeah,
so naturally, all of a sudden, these really cool new programs and new opportunities are moving forward and actually like
presenting
coming into
themselves.
being.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they actually now have the space to be able to do that.
So when you say in the virtual space, are we just talking about e-commerce? Or are we talking about like what virtual space to me is, you know, it's pretty kind of broad, right? Is it companies that don't have offices that are working, segregated, or I'm having a hard
Good
time with.
question. Yeah, yeah. It's for me, it's products and services that can be, so ecom
Oh,
would be an
okay.
example, right? Like I've built, Shopify stores with my clients with all the processes that go into actually shipping it, sending it, everything, right? And then I've also got consultants, coaches, service providers. A lot. I also have, and not as much. It does. I feel like brick and mortar doesn't work as well from a virtual space. Just and so there's travel, I think, involved to be able to do that effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you agree or no?
I, I don't know, because I find in my work we do a lot. We almost are. We're 90% e-commerce based. We focus because that's what we know. We know consumer products, but we have in the past gotten involved with brick and mortar folks, and those people with stores, whether you have 2 stores or 5 stores or 10 stores, the the most frazzled people that you're ever going to see, because they're
True.
so focused on running back and forth to stores and worrying about what's happening at the store level. And you think you got to take, because those are the people that come to us and say, we're not on e-commerce. We don't have an e-commerce presence. We want an e-commerce presence. And you start to build it out for them. And you're trying to get everything moving, and it takes,
But you can't get them on the phone or
it takes
because they're
forever.
so busy. And yep,
Schedule a
yep,
meeting for every Friday at 2 o'clock, and maybe they make it, maybe they don't. The next thing you know, it's 1:45 and they're sending you a message. Can't make it today. Had a fire at store 3, that kind of thing.
yep,
And you're going,
yep.
dude, we got to get this site going.
I know, but doesn't it? So I think this is the thing with me, right? It's not that what I do, like what I do and what I, my stuff, is universal. That being said, don't you want to just like go and stand like for a week, just go and be there with him, be like, nah, stop, right? Like, stop. I want to save you from yourself. Like, no, do that and then that and then that and then you got it, right? Like it's like I want to just go like just plant myself next to them and get it all sorted for them.
You know, it's funny. And you just made me think about this. I haven't really thought about it in a long time, but my whole background, like when I started, I built my first business when I was 27 years old. It was a retail store. It was a specialty food store, it was a disaster. Somebody who definitely would have needed help because it was a failure of leadership and a failure of process. I didn't do well. You know, made a little bit of money in spite of myself, but not enough. I would have made more money working for McDonald's for 4 years, but um, I took the money. I went to graduate school, but I got involved in another company. And my whole time, I was an operator, right? I operated that store. Then I worked for another company for a little while. I was a shareholder in it, and I was an operator. I was the number one operator. And then I built, the daily markets, and I was the operator. And then I built, Raw Beauty with Carol Alt, and all these other things. And I was always the operator. And we sort of backed into this agency thing about 10 years ago, and I had to and so being an operator, one of my flaws is that I am very like, this is what we're going to do today. I don't want to hear about this because that's not important. This is important, and this is how we're going to handle it. And so I'm used to delegating, but in a sort of in a firmer way. Like, this is the
Mhm.
plan. I've laid out the plan. Everybody knows their marching orders. Let's go. And so when I started doing this, I have to catch myself and back off all the time because I do have that tendency of going, dude, you're focused on the wrong thing, and
Yep.
you can't say that to people because so you
Yeah.
have to sit there going, yeah, I understand. Okay, yep, whatever we could do to support you.
Right.
So
Right.
I do understand
And
exactly what
surfing
you're
in the,
saying.
and what if you were just to think about maybe, right? Like,
Have you ever considered?
right. Have you ever
Yeah,
considered this might be an easier option for you? Yeah.
yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about. You want
Yeah.
to get on a plane, you want to go there and just say, look, let me show you how this is done
Right.
because we have to get this done. Right.
Right.
But
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's hysterical. So
Mhm.
so how so okay, you're in California, you're working for these big companies doing these project management, and then you and your husband decide that you're going to move to the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Um, how do you go about starting this up? Like, was this something that you thought about even before you moved, or was that something that you thought about once you got to Jacksonville and you're sitting there and you're going, what am I going to do? It's great. I'm happy we're here, but what am I going to do for a living, kind of thing?
No, so I've always had, I think, that entrepreneurial spirit. So I had already had a couple of businesses. I was a consultant in San Francisco, so it was always I laugh even I all through college. I supported myself by waitressing. And the reason I did waitressing was because I knew that if I worked harder, I could make more money.
Sure.
And I always work harder and smarter than anybody I know, right? And so that's always been my thing. So it was never a what am I going to do? It was more of a how am I going to go about doing that? I did when I got here, going into the virtual space, there's so many gurus and so many experts in all of these things. And in all honesty, got pretty lost in I don't even know if it was shiny object syndrome, but it was kind of that everybody's got the thing that you need to be successful in online business. And I had been extremely successful in the corporate world, doing what I was doing. So I wasn't really willing to go like work for pennies
Yeah.
with the skill set and knowledge that I had.
Sure.
And so it was really trying to figure out like how do I actually create a successful business that I can grow and scale and use my skills and my knowledge. And so I went down the rabbit hole of like trying to figure out where I fit in this world. Because I would say project manager to people in the virtual space, entrepreneurs, visionaries, and they'd look at me like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what you can do for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was just different terminology and just kind of trying to figure out where I fit in. So I'll tell you a funny story. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What
Oh, yeah.
an epiphany for me. So I am a. Are you familiar with ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm a ClickFunnels certified partner. And while I was going through the program, it was one of the in all honesty, they don't have it anymore, but it was one of the best digital marketing
Yeah.
programs that I've taken. And in the middle of the program that I was going through, Russell was coming out with one of his new books, and he always does that free plus shipping offer.
Yeah.
So he wants everybody to give away his books, right? And the more books you give away, you win. And so everybody was all excited because his book's coming out and he's going to do this huge program with this, big giveaway. And so he was announcing to the partners the certified partners, right? Like who telling us how this program was going to go and the launch and everything. And he says, and to whichever one of you gives away, and we're all on this, right? Like he's such a good marketer, right? That we're all sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's going to be like $100,000, right? Like this is so cool, right? And he said, for the person who gives away the most books, you get a custom Batman suit. I think I had just had my third son. I'm like, what would I do with a custom Batman suit? Who wants that? Right. And I was laughing. I'm like, if he said, like, I will have someone come in and clean your house, once a month for the next year,
That'd be
I
great.
will win that thing. Like, watch out. I'll throw down. Like, I will make this happen. A custom Batman suit. Like, but what I realized, it was such a good lesson for me though, because what I realized was like, he's not talking to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is marketing 101 of, I need to do things differently, because he's talking to like young men who would think that a custom Batman suit is cool. I would think
Yeah.
it's like a hazard in my house, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't match up, right? And so it was such a good lesson for me, because it was, I need to do things my way. I need to do things differently. I need to, right? And so like literally that was a pivot point for me of when I was able to start doing it my way. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is just my skills, this is what I do, and kind of figuring out how I fit in versus trying to fit into, a model or a group that isn't really for me,
Yeah.
you know?
No, it's the foundation of all marketing because, and I will say that I get caught in that trap sometimes myself when I start scrolling because we have a whole group, a whole team that does nothing but social media, and we manage a lot of social media accounts for clients, and so we're constantly looking at what the trends are and reels and what the trends are on TikTok
Yeah.
and things like that. And so I'm constantly scrolling those videos, YouTube shorts, TikTok, whatever. And there's a million marketers out there, a million agency guys, and they all have the same story. I'm standing here in front of this Lamborghini and,
Right. Yes.
and I sit there and it just aggravates the,
I know.
because I think, is anybody really buying this story? And are you guys, is somebody really signing up with this clown because he's standing in front of a Lamborghini? All that says to me is you're overcharging your clients, because I've been doing this a long time. I wouldn't buy a Lamborghini. And so, but what I started doing was reading the comments, and you start reading the comments, and people are funny and they don't buy into it. So, it took me a while because sometimes I look at it and I go, oh my God, I'm missing something. Oh, that's a good, this. But then I realized nobody has the credentials that we have, right? Nobody does. Nobody has the breadth of experience. I mean, we've been doing e-commerce either on our own or as an agency since the beginning of e-commerce. So, there's nobody out there like that, right? And so, we just focus on our strengths. So now when I scroll, I just sort of blow by that stuff, and I can't let it get to me. But I understand what you're saying, because all these coaches, everybody's got the better method.
They've
Everybody's
always got the answer, and they've all
got
got
the
it
answer.
figured out, right? Like,
Yeah.
just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish it were that easy.
I know, right? And I think too, I talk a lot of my clients too. I talk to them, and they think that everyone else has it all figured out,
Yeah.
right? Like they think that they're the only ones that are, that are the hot mess on the back end. Like they think that everyone else has it figured out. Like I'm telling you, I have been in the back end of enough businesses, like corporate and small business. None of them have it figured out.
Yeah.
None of them do.
No.
And so it's just a matter of making your own path and
Yeah.
figuring out what works for you and actually doing it and
Yeah.
implementing it and moving forward. And I kind of, it's for me, I feel like it's more the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare is the story, right? Like the hare is those shiny objects out there. They're the guys that have it all figured out. And then the tortoise is just every day one step in front of the other, and it's the small simple steps continuing to move forward that is what's going to get you success, not that flashy, that blinking light, that you keep going for, then the next one, or then the next one. That's not going to do it. But like I call it the unsexy stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's the
Yeah.
boring stuff. It's the stuff that you don't
It's the
want to
blocking
do.
and tackling, right?
Yes. Like those are the things that are going to get you the success.
We've been doing this a long time, and it always goes back to the same thing. You have to know who your customer is. You have to know where that customer is. You have to know what messaging they want to hear, what you provide, what your competition provides. It's all the same basic stuff. And I laugh at a lot of those guys that have the answer, right? I 10x'd my business overnight, and I'm going to teach you these 10 steps. Really? Well, if I could tell you that I could 10x your business overnight, well, why wouldn't I just go out and continue to start businesses and 10x them? Why would I give you the answer and create competition for myself? I'm going to show you how I went from zero to $1 million on Amazon. Let me tell you something. I've been selling on Amazon since 2006. If you can go from zero to $1 million, in a couple of months, more power to you. But I'm calling BS on BS
Right.
because it's not happening. So, and you're right. It's it's that bright, shiny stuff. And those people are the people who fall for that. They wind up getting scammed, and then, we pick up the pieces. But you're right. Everybody thinks that they're the only ones lagging behind the
Mm-hmm.
clients. They think they're the only ones who haven't figured it out. You
Yeah.
know, the guys who, you know, whenever somebody says, "Hey, I can 10x your business," and I get those on LinkedIn all the time too. It's people saying, "Hey, I can 10x your business." I go, "How? How do you know? How do you know you can 10x my business? You don't even know my
You
business.
know nothing about my
You know
business.
nothing about
Yeah.
me. You know nothing about my customer, but you can 10x it. Okay, I'm doing. So I always throw out a number. I'm doing 100 million. So you're going to get me to a billion?
Right.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hear you. It's I don't know if disturbing is the right word, right? But it's just I think we need to be aware.
yeah. I think clients need to be aware. I think
Yeah.
people, brand owners, most brand owners aren't the ones that are, looking at that stuff. You have to sort of go outreach and to go direct, and things like this, and things that can, writing books and things that can boost your credibility and getting published, and stuff like that, where people view you more as an expert in your field.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right. You have to focus on what you do and who you are, and get that point across, because trying to be what other people are, it's never going to work.
Well, and I think that's what I see a lot too, is that my clients have actually gotten success
Yeah.
from following the shiny lights, right? Or the gurus and following it. But what they didn't look at was what they were building. And so then they build the success, but then they built themselves into, like, for example, um, I've had some coaching clients recently where they're coaches, and they're one-on-one coaches. So number one, you how many hours a day can you actually work?
Yeah.
And when you go on vacation, you lose your income because you're not taking your right, you're not doing the one-on-one. But and yes, you've made now six figures plus doing this, and yet you didn't think when you were starting the business that you can't scale that. There's only
Right.
so many hours in a day. You
Right.
can't scale that beyond what they've taught you. And so they've built themselves into this corner that a lot of times we actually have to go and change their business model and change their offers and change their programs to actually allow for the time freedom that I'm talking about and the financial freedom and all of those things that they're looking for both in their business and in their life to be able to do that. But they've followed the gurus, but they kind of didn't look to the goal to see if it actually matched up with how they wanted to be living their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. I want to explore that a little bit more, but I have to take a break real quick and I got to just run a quick commercial. So
Great.
just hold on with me.
Yep.
As always, this show is 100%. We're exposed to over 5,000 ads every day. We see ads everywhere. So it's no surprise that consumers need to see an ad multiple times before they take action. Our clients love us because Crunch Growth makes your brand stand out online. Our team creates content that makes better ads, better posts, better videos that break through the clutter. Crunch Growth's team has been working in the digital world since the dawn of e-commerce. From social media to advertising to Amazon management to web design and development to branding, we help your brand succeed online profitably. Contact us at www.crunchgrowth.com. So I want to relay a story about that, what we were just talking about with solopreneurs, so to speak, and following gurus and things like that. So back about, I guess it was, about 10 years now. 10 years ago now, I sold one of my businesses, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Right, I was sitting in the yard with my dogs drinking coffee, thinking that okay, this is going to be the rest of my life. And one of our partners in a prior business was Energizer Corp, and they called me up and said, hey, we could use some help because we don't have any direct to consumer. Everything we do is B2B. We sell in supermarkets, club stores, mass, etc. So we've never sold direct to consumer, and we don't understand Amazon like you do and all this stuff. So can you help us? I'm like, yeah. And so I started doing some work for them, and then somebody else that I knew called me up and said, hey man, I've got this e-commerce business, I could use some help. I was like, yeah, sure. And after about a month, I was sitting there and my wife said, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, man. I'm not a good consultant. It's not my life. I don't want to do this, but, I'm doing it for sort of to help them. But she goes, well, don't you think there's a business there? I said, how so? Because I couldn't see it. She said, well, you think about it, you got these two clients, you have all these people that you used to work with that, you when you sold, the razor company, they're all dispersed, but think about what they did. Why don't you just try and turn this into a business, and then you can get more clients, and then you can do that? Because if you do this on your own and go from here to there, and then maybe you pick another one up and you're going to be on the road traveling here, you're going to be miserable. I know you're not going to be able to do it. And she was 100% right. And so that's why I say we sort of backed into this agency thing, because I never planned on building an agency. And we started to pick up clients because, this person told this person and this person told this person. And then people that I knew in e-commerce were calling. And the next thing you know, we had a bank of clients, and I started hiring the people that I have and saying, okay, you're going to help with this, you're going to help with this.
Yeah.
I had to deal with, Energizer because that was sort of the big one, but I had, people helping me, I could, and I started looking at that model going, is it like you were saying, do I walk around saying I have the answer? Because I don't have the answer, and I don't know what the answer is until I get into your business and figure out what the answer is. Right.
Yes,
So,
yes,
and
yes.
I didn't like that style of advertising. Hey, we have the answer. We can 10x your business, or we could do this. I'll never make that claim to anybody because I don't know, And people ask us on the first call when we're talking to them. How big do you think you can get our sales? I don't know. I don't know where your past sales have been yet. This is an introductory call. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right?
But don't you feel that that comes from the experience and the expertise? Like, I feel like there was a point, I don't know, a few years ago where like I felt comfortable saying, I don't know. But I do know that I can figure it out. Here's what we need to do in order to get that answer, right? But I think that there's a level of confidence in, right, that you're able to say, I don't know, and let's go figure it out.
Well, I think when you start talking to people, and it makes sense when you say, look, if somebody's telling you they can do that, go ahead, pay
Yeah.
them, and then call me in 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I'll
See
tell
how it
you,
goes.
I've had that experience too, where I've had somebody, come to us and say, I want to, I need your help on Amazon. And we said, look, this is where we can get you, but it's going to take upfront work, right? We're going to have to do this, 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 and this, and that's hours. And that's, well, then I'm going to be losing money for 2 months. Well, you have to invest in your business if you want to grow it,
Right.
right? Well, no, I have a guy who can get me. Okay. I said, go ahead, get him. And then he did. And it was a disaster. And then, a year later, he's calling us up going, I've gotten nothing. I've spent all this money and I've got nothing. I said, okay, you know, and then we do it again. We go through the process again. And he's like, no, I don't want to spend all that. Okay. And then he leaves and gets somebody else, becomes a disaster. Finally, on the third time, literally, it was 3 years. He finally said, I've wasted X dollars, and I said, this is what it's going to be. It hasn't changed. The deal
Yeah.
hasn't changed. We went in and did it exactly what we said we were going to do. And we made exactly the progress we said we were going to make. I said, so don't you feel stupid that over the last 2 years, you wasted all that money when you could have made this
Yeah.
progress? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a book. I'm a reader. I'm a total book nerd, so I'm reading constantly. Um, uh, Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan wrote the book. It's Who Not How,
Yeah.
and it's all about like finding the who's that can, right, that can kind of multiply and that can help you to grow. And that's perfect example of that,
Yeah.
right? Is like finding the who. Don't try to figure it out yourself,
Yeah.
right? Find the who that actually knows how to do that and pull them in, right? And when you do that with your team, with your clients, with the people that you hire, the programs that you do, it's like literally your growth is exponential at
Yeah.
that point,
Yeah.
right? Because you're bringing in just so many flavors, so many, right? Different experts, different people who are good at different things, which just means that you're able to expand
Yeah.
easier and faster.
Yeah. You can't do anything without a team. I could never be uh, I, I could never be a solopreneur.
Agreed.
I don't think about, um, well, there's two reasons, to be honest. The first is I am not a detail person. I am an idea guy. I can tell you where
Yeah.
we have to go. But if you say to me, Phil, you have to sit down and write these ads and build these ads, and at this point, ChatGPT has been my friend for about a year
Right.
because I cannot do that kind of thing. I have to do it sometimes, but I'm not good at it. And that's why I have great people, and they help me. But I know, and I think we talked about this on a couple of other shows. I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. I've had done so many of those tests that tell me what type of personality I am,
Mhm.
how I manage, and all that. So I'm very clear with people that work with me that this is who I am. So
Yeah.
don't expect this from me. Don't expect this from me. If it's your birthday, I'll say happy birthday, but I may not know ahead of time. It's on my calendar, but don't think that it doesn't mean that I don't care. It's just not what I'm thinking about is what we have to get done today, right?
Right.
So, it's that type of thing. And as long as I think you tell people what you are, right, and what kind of manager you are, what kind of leader you are, they can accept it if you know it, and they know that it's not malicious, just who you are, right?
Mhm.
And we did this exercise when I was with, a company where all the managers got together. The owner of the company got this. I wouldn't, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe a psychologist or a management psychologist,
Mhm.
but he gave us all tests, and then at one of those team building things. And then the next day, everybody had a little picture. He had graded them overnight or whatever, and everybody had this little picture of the type of personality they were and what their strengths and weaknesses were around the table. And when you started looking at it, and his whole theory was, now keep this in your office. When people come in, you know the type of person you're dealing with. And when when we all looked at it, then we all realized why we were not functioning very well as a team, because we were expecting this person to be able to do this when it's just not in them. If you're expecting me to, do detail work of putting together a spreadsheet and a projection, I need somebody to do it, and I can look at it and say, no, that's not right. This is what we have to change. But do you follow me?
Totally. I think teams are like puzzle pieces,
Yeah.
right? Like we all have to kind of fit in to make it work, right? And for me, it's like there's some stuff that I just don't want to do. I don't like to do it. ChatGPT's been I've actually named ChatGPT Linda, and it's now a member of our team, right? So I'm like, hey, can you have Linda go write up some copy for, right? Like, so we got Linda. She's a great copywriter. She's,
Yeah.
helps out with everything. Um, but it's all about just working to our strengths. Like I ask my team all the time, is there something that you would like to learn? Is there, let's get you a class and let's have you start working on that. Is there something you don't want to do anymore? Let's find
Yeah.
somebody else who says, yeah, I want to do that, because we're all going to work better
Yeah.
if we're doing things that we want to be doing. And I'm fine with reworking the structure,
Yeah.
right? As long as we're all kind of fitting in and doing what we want to be doing versus what we have to be doing. And sometimes you have to do stuff, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
for the most part, if we could just do what we want to do, it just makes life a lot easier. And the things that we're good at, right? Like I'm good at organization. I can take a project and you can say, we've got to launch this in 3 years from now. And I know, like, in the blink of an eye, I know exactly the steps that need to be taken in order to hit that deadline. That is something that is easy for me to do. It is not difficult, right? But like again, you asked me to go write copy. I will sit and look at a blank page for 3 days and think that I have absolutely nothing to say on that same topic, right? Like it could be that topic of
Yeah.
how do I get this done? I could then go try to write something and I don't have a clue,
No.
right? Like it's just, and so that's it. So I either find tools like Linda or, I've got team members that can come in and help and they love doing that. And so
That's
there we
funny.
go.
I have to write that down. I naming Chat GPT. I have to write that down. You know, because I think that's hysterical, because it's true now. Chat has become another team member for us. We
Yep.
not only writing content, because we're doing so many different things, so many different types of businesses, so many different accounts, that it's hard sometimes to come up with the words. And so even ideation for chat is great. Like if you tell chat to give you some ideas on, it's
Yep.
fantastic. So, but we are using it more and more. It's certainly not taking a job away from anybody, but it has enhanced it.
Yep.
So chat and Grammarly together are really what builds it for us, right? So
Yep.
that is funny, but I never heard anybody say that. Name ChatGPT. I've got to use
Oh,
that.
and it makes us laugh every time, right? Because we just, can you like ask Linda to do this or can you have Linda go? And we think it's hilarious. We crack ourselves up,
Yeah,
right? Like we think we're so funny. So
I think it's funny.
yeah, yeah.
So we're coming up on running out of time, man. That just sort of flew by. Um, so it's a great conversation. But how can people get in touch with you? I've got all the information you sent us. We've got that in the description of the show. We've got your website in there, which is goldie.com, GOALDI.com, right? And
Yes,
then they can find you on LinkedIn, right? Traci,
yes.
Traci Berman on LinkedIn. And so, if somebody's interested, they just, I guess, go to Goldie.com and fill out the contact form, or
Yeah, they can go to goldie.com. I have actually a business alignment assessment. If you'd like to see kind of where you are on the scale from hot mess to hell yes, in there. And it's right at the top there. And you can click on that and you can take that assessment. And then it's just get on a call with me. There's a few different places to schedule on my website. And you can just get on a call and we can talk about what you need. I have the business alignment method, so it's a guided implementation. So if you do not have any, if it's all in your head and you don't have any systems set up, any team alignment, we can help you to set that up. And we also have integrators, project managers that can actually join your team and help as well.
so am I? Can you see my screen? So
I cannot.
cannot.
Mm-mm.
Um, oh, show and stream. There it is.
There you go.
So this is so what you're talking about here is this.
Yep.
They can go here, and they can get started with. Um,
Yep. With the assessment.
that's great. That's interesting. So Goldie.com, from a hot mess to a hell yes.
Yep.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's what my closet looks like.
Right.
Excellent. That's great.
Very good.
So, okay, so that's how people can get in touch with you.
Mhm.
Goldie.com looks good. You're going to organize everybody's, streamline their processes, make sure that they launch on time, do all those great things.
All the things. Yes. Yes,
Traci,
and enjoy their lives, right? Like that's the biggest thing. Like enjoy your business, enjoy your life,
yeah, that's
make it a little bit
fantastic.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think we got a lot out of it. I think it was fun. And again, naming ChatGPT Linda as part of the team, I think is hysterical. And I have a great idea for it. So
Very
thanks
good.
for giving me that idea. Um, so yeah, appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to do this. So I've got a couple of closing things to do. So um, we'll catch up.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All
That
right.
was
Thank
fun.
you. All right.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
So I think that was interesting. Goldie.com again. Tracy's very good sense of humor, very good conversationalist. But I think she's right. When you think about it, and as she was talking, I was thinking about our business and how people or how we interact or how some of our clients aren't organized, things like that. So I think it's very, very useful. Thanks again for showing up. Thanks again for paying attention and coming on. We've got some other great shows coming up over the next 6 weeks. We've got some great people booked up. So we're continue to try and bring you great content, great ideas, great stories, great entrepreneurs that are doing some different things. And again, make it entertaining. So have a good night, and we'll see you next week. And once again, this show is brought 100% supported by Crunch Growth. We don't take any outside sponsorships. So have a good night. We're exposed to over 5,000 ads every day. We see ads everywhere. So it's no surprise that consumers need to see an ad multiple times before they take action. Our clients love us because Crunch Growth makes your brand stand out online. Our team creates content that makes better ads, better posts, better videos that break through the clutter. Crunch Growth's team has been working in the digital world since the dawn of e-commerce. From social media to advertising to Amazon management to web design and development to branding, we help your brand succeed online profitably. Contact us at www.crunchgrowth.com.